Sometimes it's nice to just sit and think. Nice to see you.
Boy, friend, a question. Do you know why people always stop and watch a blacksmith at work? Because he's riveting. It's good to see a new face in this sad hole.
Oh, of course. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Osbryht, local master of hammers and anvils. Do you need your blade sharpened?
Oh, not really. Especially since we went into a lockdown a while ago. People used to come and go. Now and then a ship would make a stop at the village below, but nobody's really come around since. Well, since the entire shit show that's going down everywhere. Now that I think of it, you're the first they've let in. What'd you do? Who did you bribe? Oh, so you have friends in Camelot. Good for you. Of course I do. Those pins are peak craftsmanship, and very rare at that. We only gave them out on Camelot's orders. But when I look at you, well, it's pretty obvious you wouldn't be able to beat a knight. And even if you found one already dead, you'd sooner nick his armor than a pin you knew nothing about. Either way, good for you. Yeah, after we lost 2 squads trying to take back the All-Mother's Temple from the Dalrita, our captain decided that nobody leaves the Horns. Then, he shut himself in his office, without leaving us any orders. Virgus is trying to keep the lads occupied, but... just look around. Half of the people here are losing their minds, and the rest are losing their wages on drink. Sometimes I wonder, you know, how many things can go wrong at the same time. They say that misery loves company, but here, it's like we've done something to anger the gods, and they're taking their sweet revenge. First, we started hearing that the weirdness was spreading near Grubwood. Soon after that, we saw waves of bandits approaching from there. Desperate people. It took a lot of our territory. Then, the Dalrita tribes took over the All-Mother's Temple. And after that, the supply chains from Camelot collapsed for some reason. And so on and so forth. We're in quite a pickle, my friend. We've started betting on what's going to happen next. Sea monsters? Who knows? Yes, that damn forest north of here was already cursed and creepy. But now, I've heard it's an entirely different level of crazy. They say that some men here started going dark up north. With that, the weirdness started moving. And when the weirdness gets here, well, we're fucked. But you know that. Every child has heard the stories. Truth be told, most of them are just people desperate to survive. When the villagers started dying out because of the weirdness, hunger, or raids, they lost their livelihoods, ended up with nothing to their names, and nowhere to go. So they banded together and started raiding whatever was left. Then they turned to killing each other. They're like rabid wolves. Too bad they're here now, too. That's... I don't know. It's hard to explain. They kept to themselves, perched in the mountains near the Forlorn Swords. Then something happened, and suddenly we saw ships arriving near our eastern shores. A couple days later, the tribes took over. One good thing is that the bandits aren't up to fighting with them. One bad thing, we aren't either. I heard that dew fell down the stairs and didn't break a single bone. So that's a start. Other than that, no, I can't think of anything. Huh. It's for Dan, isn't it? That ungrateful bastard's still on the wall.
Disagreement? Sure, you could call it that, and I guess I might have overreacted a bit.
But since Dan is on the wall and I'm here, I couldn't tell him that I get it. The prank and all. And I forgave him a long time ago. Now that I think about it, it was a hell of a prank.
Well, he was right. I am old, but inefficient stung a little bit. After all, I did my job well, and his sword is as sharp as Excalibur itself.
Well, I may not be angry with him anymore, but that doesn't mean I'll work my ass off so that his doesn't freeze. Here's an explanation of how to make it. Feel free to help him out yourself. Ha! Friend, I wish. But the only task I could use help with might be a bit too delicate for you to handle.
Unless you're a master goldsmith, then feel free to prove it, and I'll have work for you immediately. There's just not enough of them to go around. And now that we're on lockdown, there's not much demand for my services either. Listen, I said I don't have any jobs, as in things I pay you for doing. That doesn't mean I can't teach you a thing or two. If you're willing to learn, that is. Since you're free to wander about while I'm stuck in the keep, maybe we can make good use of that. You've probably bashed in the skull of a beast or two, right? The alchemists. They're likely snatching up the corpses, using the muck to cook their weird concoctions. But perhaps you'd rather craft yourself some armor from those hides, huh? We should start with something simple. Let's see. I'll give you some notes on how to make armor. You gather the materials and get to work. And when you're done, you can bring it over so I can see what you've made. It's nice to What a nice day.
Oh, right. The lamellar armour from the Armourer's Almanac. I remember. So how did it turn out? That's impossible. You must have made a mistake. I'm sure it wouldn't have turned out like that if you had followed Arden's instructions properly.
Oh!
should stay out of trouble. There you are, finally. Do you have what I need? A mask? Eh? Are you sure? Ah, whatever, sod it. Now they'll get what's coming to them, damn rascals. You can go now. You're right. Here, take this. But don't think, even for a moment, that the struggle is over. We need more, much more, to finally rid ourselves of those blasted birds once and for all. Are you ready for the next step in our fight against the flying, shitting enemy? That's the spirit! In a war like this, every ally counts. Look, I've got the perfect seagull trap design right here. You just need to make a few and set them up in some strategic spots, like this one. And those flying pests will surely get caught. We need to work smart. Never. As long as I live and can do something, I'll keep fighting. Go on then, and fight against the flying vermin.
Service, eternal service.
Hope nothing bad happens today. Oi, friend. You went and made armor, based on the Armor's Almanac, didn't you? I should have warned you. That's a terrible idea. Those books are the biggest load of crap I've ever come across. And I've talked to Rolf when he's had a few too many. Yeah, well, Alar is a fanatical follower of that Shadow Blade. He's read a couple of those books, and suddenly he thinks he knows my trade better than I do after 40 years in the forge. He even had the nerve to argue with me. Now, I told him I can hammer your face just as easily as this steel. Well, that shut him up quick. Arden Shitblade, you mean? Of course I don't respect him. That fool is ruining the reputation of every armorer out there. No one knows who he is or why his nonsense even gets published. But plenty of people would love to get their hands on him. I'd gladly get rid of him myself. You don't get it. Those books, they are dangerous. Now think about it. Somebody reads that nonsense, makes armor, and then heads out into the world. What do you think will happen? They sure as hell won't become a Knight of the Round Table. First Grindelow they come across will punch right through that garbage armor. And you don't think the one writing this nonsense, testing people's faith, is at fault? Because I sure do. To me, that Shadow Blade is dangerous, and someone needs to put an end to it. Well, if you could find him, knock some sense into his empty head, and cut off his hands, so he'd never write another book. I would cover you in gold. I've got no idea. Maybe Allah knows something. He's the biggest admirer of that charlatan I've ever met. He's been trying to share the wisdom of those books, but I chased him off and haven't seen him since. Thank you. You'll not only make this old smith happy, but the entire guild will be grateful. Sometimes it's nice to just sit and think. Well now, that's not half bad. Not half bad at all. Solid work, and you didn't skimp on the details. You've nailed the basics. So how about we try something a bit fancier, huh?
Depends. Why do you ask? Oh, that's my dream too. Would you take my copy of the first volume with you, just in case you meet Shadowblade? Because I know where to find him. The almanac isn't printed by Arden himself, but in Timberwall, based on his manuscripts. In the first editions, they accidentally included not only Arden's name and pen name, but also his place of residence. I paid a good sum to get a copy, but here it is. No problem. I'll lend you this copy. But don't forget to get it signed.
When the fog isn't too thick, I sometimes see drowners crawling out of the water. And sometimes I can see a strange shape out on the sea, like a giant herring with a red eye. Too many monsters in this world, far too many. And some of them are above us. I'm guessing it's just the seagulls, driving me insane. Flying rats. But still, I wouldn't recommend swimming too far away from the shore. Seagulls still shit on our walls. They still fly over our heads. They still make normal life unbearable. Sometimes I can't sleep. I think about whether there's a quick way to solve this problem. And then I realize, this is the bloody South. A bloody fortress by the sea. The problem is that this place exists. But I swore to serve it, to look after the horns of the South. And that goes hand in hand with hating those screeching bastards. Hope you've thinned the flock. Or was that too much for you? Stay quiet. Safe. Everything will be just fine. Stay quiet, stay safe. And how did my traps work? Quite the technological marvels, aren't they? That's what I like to hear. You are an invaluable first officer. But our work isn't done yet. We need to solve the seagull problem on Avalon once and for all. You'll search for their nests and destroy them without mercy. Burn the nests, shoot the parents. It's the only way to eradicate the evil for good. Serious times call for serious measures and decisive people. I see no other way. The nests will keep coming back, but don't even think about giving up. Only consistency will save us. There will be less of them with time, you'll see. Go. Fulfill your mission, my brave first officer.
Let me guess. He's trying to rope you into his campaign against Avalonian seagulls. It's a well-known story. All the keepers know of Gwylin's obsession, but it's less amusing than it sounds. You see, Gwylin is from a coastal village. His father, a fisherman, worked hard to feed his family. He instilled a deep hatred of seagulls in Gwylin, claiming they were our greatest enemy. He taught his son how to kill them effectively, and insisted they were agents of the Fort Dwellers. Essentially, yes, but he wasn't always like this. When he joined, he just didn't like seagulls and avoided them. I gave him simple jobs away from the walls, and everyone was happy. Until one day, he asked to serve on the walls. I agreed because I thought he'd simply got used to the birds. I had no idea I would be contributing to feeding his obsession. I spoke to him. Between his rants, I heard a confession I didn't expect. When Gwylin was only 7 years old, he saw a flock of seagulls attack his father and pluck his eyes out. Is it true? Or the ramblings of a madman? It's not for me to decide. Don't get me wrong. Gwylin is harmless, and he's a good soldier. But he can't be helped. Whatever he's asked you to do, just ignore it. Don't argue with him, it's not your responsibility. If he brings up seagulls, just pretend you didn't hear him. That's what we all do. He's not our first line of defense. The archers are. Every man here needs to have a job. And no offense to Odrin, but let's just say we can afford to lose him. I'm sure the hordes of visitors clamoring at our gates can survive the insult. It used to belong to the keep. You could say it was its beating heart. That village was where our lighthouses led the ships, and where the workers lived with their families. Ah, those must have been the days. But then the ships stopped coming, and there were less and less new keepers, and the others left looking for a better life. Until, at last, the sea took most of it. What else was there to do? There weren't enough people to live there, and nobody wanted to anyway. Not since the monsters started coming out of the sea. We wiped out most of them, but new ones showed up every now and then. Marg, our hunter, keeps an eye on the place. You can talk to him if you want. Depends on your idea of interesting. There's a weird statue with a gong, but I'm not sure how much of it is left. Other than that, probably just damp rubble. I don't know. Ask Marg. I'm pretty sure he just sits there all day instead of hunting. No wonder we've been eating nothing but fish. That's between her and the captain. Were it up to me, she'd be long gone. Her presence here distracts my men. There are a few retired keepers living there. They might tell you about the good old days if you ask them nicely. There are also some refugees from north of the island, since we had nowhere else to put them. I don't really know much about what's going on in that place. I just make sure they have everything they need, more or less. You can always go see for yourself. People fleeing from bandits, from the weirdness, you name it. I wasn't exaggerating when I said we were the last beacon of hope this far south. For these people, we are. Don't know how many more we can take, but that's a problem for another time. You know where to find me if you come across any more.